Scott here, and sorry for the delay and not getting the video up. It's just been really crazy at the agency lately. Had a lot of projects going on, a lot of different things that had to get taken care of. Plus, I started up the UCLA classes, so you get it. It's just one of those busy things. Anyway, I wanted to kind of talk to you today about finding those marketable story ideas, really going out and trying to say, where is the best place that we can get a story idea from? And I want you to think about this concept before we get into the actual slides. And it's something that I've talked about with a lot of my research writing students about topic selection. And topic selection is really, really important. And I always want to use kind of like this concept from food, right? If you go out and you want to, you're planning on barbecuing a steak, right? You're treating your significant other to a great steak dinner, but you go out and get a garbage piece of steak, right? It doesn't matter what you do to that steak. You can season it, you can marinate it, all those things. You have a garbage piece of steak, guess what's going to happen? It's going to be a garbage meal. Okay? So you want to start with, when we're talking about marketable story ideas, same thing with meat, right? You want to start with that great cut of meat to make sure that when you cook it and you barbecue it, you got a better chance of getting out of, getting a decent meal out of this. Now, I do want to remind you, though, just because you get a good selection, a good cut of meat, can you still screw it up? Yeah, you can, because you got to still treat it with some respect. You got to take the time to do that. And time's going to be a big word that you're going to hear me talk about a lot. But when it comes to market selection, it is so crucial that market selection, finding that marketable story idea, it is so crucial that you get out there and you get a great topic and a great idea because it's going to really make your story actually work out for you in the long run, as long as you can start with something decent. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and dive into this. Writers, I'll be very honest, writers are often starting off on the wrong foot. They're grabbing topics that, something inherently are going to fail. There's nothing you can do about this. So I've got four ideas up here, and we're going to kind of talk about each of those. But there's no one out there writing this story, so it's got to be good. I don't know how many times I hear that statement over and over again. Well, there's definitely a market for it because nobody's been writing about it. Let's just think about the logic of that one. Look about this next one. You don't even know what the market's looking for. You just grabbed a story idea and you went with it. A lot of that, by the way, on that last point, on that second point there, it comes from those people where they've heard the statement, just write your story and people will want it. You know something? The key is we want you to write your story, but if the market's not looking for it, you get the idea. Not knowing where you want to actually publish your book, right? You sit there and you write a story, and then you think you want to publish it at a certain location. We could have a problem there. There's a mismatch. And then the last part, not taking the time to plot. You really need to figure it out and think through that story. And I know for a lot of you, you hear the word plotting and you start to run. You're thinking, no way. But you've really got to kind of think through that process. I'll be very honest, a lot of my authors, and again, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but most of my authors, they're going to take 2 weeks deciding on a story, really kind of playing around, kind of massaging it, thinking about character types and things like that before they even start putting pen to paper or their fingers to that keyboard. So it's really important that you do take that time. Let's talk about this. Here's the first point, right? There's no one out there writing it, so it must be good. This comes down to market research. Look, if nobody's writing that story out there, it isn't because there's a gap out there. It's not an issue of being ahead of the game. It means nobody's buying this darn thing. Okay? Nobody gives a rip about it. Okay, maybe it was hot once before, but if nobody's interested in it now, it doesn't mean that you're suddenly on the brink of a new wave. It just means, guess what? People don't want it anymore. So you've got to do that market research. Again, you almost heard me say it, taking that time. Let's look at that second point. Not knowing what the market's looking for. Again, this is more market research here. You got to be able to see what's hot and what's not. But that's not what's hot right now. You've got to start looking at trends that might be happening in the future. Okay, and a trends, I'll be very honest, every editor and agent out there says if we knew trends, we'd make a fortune right now. But what you can do is you can start to see where does the direction of things seem to be heading right now. Okay, if you see the direction heading in a way that seems to be brand new, but you're starting to see it pop up in a couple places, that might be a potential hotspot. You heard me use the word might, however. It might be. It doesn't guarantee that it is. But you have to do that market research. See really what seems to be hot and those things that are not. Let's look at the third point down. We said not having that target publisher. If you don't know where you want to publish your book, you're going to run into some problems because you are going to pick a topic that that publisher would never even be interested in. And I really want to stress this point, and I'm going to highlight this for you. It's this point right here. You likely have a unique voice for a certain publisher. Everybody's got that unique voice. It isn't that your story is going to fit with everybody. You've got a voice that fits specifically with a particular publisher, so you really want to make sure that you're focusing in on those. So if you know that your voice is definitely like a Harper Collins type of voice, you need to get to that Harper Collins site and really look and go, whoa, wait a minute here. Harper Collins doesn't even produce any book like this. Then is that a good topic? Probably not. So you have to go out and see what those people are doing. Now, how do you figure out what your target publisher is? I'll be very honest. Go to your bookshelf and see who you're reading. Okay? And don't tell me that you read everybody. Go see who you are reading. Okay? You go take a look at that, and the odds are that you tend to buy only from one or two publishers. And because your voice, that's where your brain goes to, that's the way you think, that's going to be the publisher you're going to probably want to focus in on. And finally, rushing things, right? If you are so eager to just sit there and start writing that story, you're going to screw it up. Remember what I told you. I have authors that it takes them 2 weeks. While I'm taping this video right here for you, I will tell you I've been working with an author now for the last 2 weeks, really planning out some story ideas, thinking about what that next book that she's working on in her series, what it's going to be about. She knew the characters' names, but it was like, where do I want this story to go to? What type of conflict do I want to work with? She has to think all of those pieces out. Okay. And the interesting thing is that she just even heard that another publisher is interested in some of her things, some of her writing. And now she's got to sit there and start plotting out what do you think they're going to want as well. So it's one of those think it through, consider where you want to go to with this. But it is going to take time. Okay. Now, where do you go for these story ideas? Now, we've talked about what to look for, but where do you go to? Couple different approaches, and you can do this with a lot of different ideas. Maybe one is let's start with some familiar tropes, right? Those tropes, those common type of themes that we see on a regular basis. Okay, maybe it's if it's a suspense novel, it might simply be somebody chasing, somebody's being chased from like an X. Okay, start building with that, right? That could be a common trope. The X that's really a psycho mess, right? That could be something. That could be a familiar trope, right? In romance, we have things like marriages of convenience, whatever that might be. Start with that trope. Now, if you know your publisher, the publisher is going to have certain tropes that they're going to work with. So grab those tropes and say, okay, what can I do to play around with those ideas, but to make it unique? Another approach, start with some character types. I really want to have a character that is maybe I want to make a female protagonist that's really kind of on a cutting edge of something. Always on the cutting edge, always trying to maybe push the barriers. Great, build that story. Okay. Maybe you're going to take a look at historical events to build around. That doesn't mean that you have to write a historical story, but maybe there was a historical event that you can go, you know, I like the things that happened with that historical story. Can I transplant those maybe to a contemporary story? Okay. Or obviously, if you're writing historical, build it around that historical idea and say, okay, what type of characters could fit around that? Look, that's the definition of historical fiction. Building it around a historical event and creating the characters around it. That could be something. Build on common plot ideas, right? There's a lot of similar plot ideas. Now, we're not saying you copy the entire plot. We're just saying, you know, that little snippet? Can we pull that little snippet of something that we saw maybe in a movie or a TV or another book, right? Now, we're not saying steal the whole thing, but we could say, you know, there was a scene that I saw in a movie where like the character was doing this and this. Okay, great. Build that idea around it. Again, you're not taking the whole story. You're just kind of using that as a seed, right? It's kind of like sourdough. Okay, so now we're in this COVID stuff. We all know sourdough, right? But it's that the mother seed that you're putting in there, right? The mother starter. You take that little piece and you build off of that. The other thing you can do is look around you. Are there events and people around you? Are there people at work that are saying things and doing things that you can go, you know, I really like what happened there, or I see that as a story idea. Take that piece, pull it out, build off of that as a story idea again. But that's going to be the key thing. You got to always be looking around you. I think, in all honesty, what most of you are doing is you were just forcing things, right? You build with that basic idea and you go from there. So, I was working with a group of writers just recently, and we were talking about writing like YA type of stories. And we were saying, okay, so build off of this story. Let's see, how could we do this? I'm going to have a kid who's coming into a high school. Great, story idea. Build off of that. Kid coming into high school, build a conflict. Kids new to that high school. Maybe the kid has done nothing but homeschooling at that high before, and now they're in a public school. Or maybe we go, no, let's go private school to public school, or public school to private school. Okay, let's build off of that. What are they going to face? Okay, maybe they want to do certain things. Maybe they want to be part of a club, but maybe these clubs are really cliquey. You see what I'm doing is I'm just kind of going build, 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 build until I really start to kind of come up with, hey, that's a potential idea. But again, you're not going to get it immediately. So a lot of note taking, a lot of writing, and that's going to help you out. So hopefully that's going to give you some ideas. Maybe kickstart a fresh idea of an approach that you want to take with finding those story ideas. But I cannot stress this one enough. Find the good story idea at the beginning and build off of that. You get that story idea, you're going to be motivated to really want to help that one out. Okay, so hopefully, like I said, that's going to help you out and kind of get you in the right direction. So, as always, I do want to remind you. Oh, yeah, again, please just take your time. I knew I forgot one slide there, but definitely take your time on this one. You've heard me say this over and over again. Don't waste this, okay? Because if you rush this, you are going to waste so much time. If you start writing that story and you are um, at 4 chapters in and you suddenly find that it's a bad story idea, that's 4 chapters of wasted time. That's 4 chapters you could have put to something decent. Okay, so keep that one in mind. Now we're going to go to the as always. Okay, as always, here's the one thing I want to say. Look, like this video. Like this video. Give me a like. Show me that this is working. So give me a like. Subscribe to the video channel. Okay, the video and the video channel. I am going to give a mentorship as soon as we hit that 1,000 subscriber. And I know it's a long way out there. I get it. I get it, but I challenge you. Share this video with other people. If you've got somebody who's stuck with story ideas, share the video here. Follow me on all the different social media channels, right? I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Yeah, okay, Facebook's a little, people are a little iffy about it, but you know something? It's a good place to go to connect. So follow me on Instagram, Facebook, follow me on Twitter. I'm not always on Twitter, but at least if I do post something, you'll see that. I do have a blog. All of those things you can connect off of my website, the website www.grayhouseagency.com. Just go to that website, follow it, check it out. If you definitely want to submit a story to me, please, please, please go to that website. Read what I'm looking for. It is all clearly spelled out for you, so there's no guessing. And I'm also available if you've got some writing groups. If you're part of Romance Writers of America and you're part of a chapter, listen, I will come and work with your chapter. I can fly, come out and talk to you. We can do things via Zoom, whatever that might be. I'll do newsletters. We do contests. You name it. I'm always there for you. Okay, so keep writing. Remember what Ray Bradbury said, you only fail if you stop writing, so I don't want you to stop writing. I'll see you out here as soon as I come up with a new idea, as soon as I think of a new topic. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.